What's up, everyone? Pursuit of Shutter here. Hope you people are doing good, you people are staying safe, and you people are not stepping outside until and unless it's very, very urgent. And with that being said, it's been a long gap since I have posted a tutorial on my channel, so here it comes. And today we're going to talk about what self-portraits are. And just in case you were wondering if I'm going to teach you how to pose for a self-portrait or how to hold your pose while the timer is on, or maybe different camera angles or perspective to make you look younger or slimmer, I'm not the right person to talk and I'm not going to talk at all. So just in case you are facing some sort of technical hurdles like keeping yourself in focus while you are away from your camera, or maybe how to keep your composition or framing right, or how creative you can get in terms of perspective or in fact framing, I can talk about all those things for a few minutes, and that's what I'm going to do after the intro. So before we jump into something else, let's go on to internet, our favorite place, and check out what it has to say about the definition of self-portrait. So according to Google, a self-portrait is a portrait that an artist produces of themselves. Similarly, Wikipedia says that a self-portrait is a representation of an artist that is drawn, painted, photographed, or sculpted by that artist. So with the discussion of self-portrait, the first thing that might hit your mind is why self-portraits? And let me explain you in this way. So at the very first place, I brought a camera because I wanted some cool pictures of mine just for my social. But over the years, when I started traveling with my friends, started going out, I ended up being that guy who had the least amount of photos of himself on his cards and hard disks or whatever. And that's when I ended up creating new ideas to get myself shot. Also, I was staying alone. I am still staying alone. So that was also a challenge to ask someone to just shoot a picture of myself, and that's when the idea of self-portraiture came to mind. Also, if you are a guy who is a bit camera shy, and also that rectangular box makes you feel intimidated while someone else is shooting you and you look like a guy with a gunpoint while someone else is taking a portrait of you, self-portrait is your friend. And the first advantage of self-portrait is you don't have the fear of being watched. You can add your own creative splashes, and that might just bring the best out of yourself. That's the whole motive of portraiture, self-portrait. So another very important thing about drawing inspiration of any kind of creative aspects, including self-portrait, comes from some social portals or from some online sort of portals like Pinterest, Instagram. You can check up a bunch of creative portrait photographers. It doesn't necessarily have to be a self-portrait sort of inspiration. It can be anything related to portraits. You can draw inspiration from them. You can merge your own ideas. You can create a whole sort of amalgamation and create some amazing portraits. And I will highly suggest checking out Brandon Whipple, Brian Adam Castillo, and for self-portrait, Sorel Amor is a goddess. You must check her out. So I will drop down some highly creative portrait artists and self-portrait artists who are doing wonders in their own field. You can check them out and get some creative ideas and start shooting. And about the technicalities, I will talk more about it later. And right now, it's time to show what I have created over the years in field of self-portraits. They had nothing groundbreaking or creative or anything, but that just gets the work done of getting a cool photo for my socials. So that's it. So let's jump in and see what I have created. So while at it, let's talk about the technical glitches and hurdles that you are going to face while shooting a self-portrait. Just in case you are a guy like me who doesn't own a camera with this stripped LCD, you are out of luck saying whether you were on focus or what's going on in the frame, whether you were standing way too close to the camera. so that your head is chopped up or you are standing way far from the camera to spoil your composition or your desired framing. So that's a base challenge of self-portrait is, and today we're going to talk about different ways to negate all these hurdles and dive straight into the workarounds to get over all those things. So before we start off, let's talk about all the requirements we have. And the very first requirement we have is definitely a phone or a camera, and secondly obviously a tripod or a sturdy place where you can just mount your phone or camera to keep it stable, steady throughout the shoot. And thirdly, most cameras, if they have some sort of Wi-Fi or Bluetooth connectivity and offers a native app that can be used on your smartphone to control your camera remotely. And just in case your camera doesn't have this feature, I have a workaround. You can check the chapters that I have added below and go forward to that particular part, and check your workaround. And fourth, the most important thing of all of this is a lot of patience. That's it. So you have drawn some inspirations from some online portals or some magazines maybe, and now it's time to execute all those in real life. And the first thing you need to do is find a right place, scout a proper location where you can get your ideas come to life. So self-portraits are mostly shot indoors, or maybe you go to your rooftops, probably in your staircase. It's mostly that. And I'm not going to judge you if you are going to take your tripod out, shoot yourself in the middle of a street. That's totally fine. So first thing, you have to scout the location where you are going to shoot yourself. Secondly, the most important thing is getting the composition and framing right. And here's a pro tip from myself is that firstly, take your camera or phone in your hand, roam around and find the right composition, get the right background that will tell the story in a better way. Keep all the distracting or unwanted subjects away from home. Keep all the distracting or unwanted subjects or objects away from your frame, and you need a bit of workaround to get this right. And after that only you mount your camera or phone on the tripod. Otherwise you are going to miss out a big time on the framing or composition game, and that's very important for any sort of portraiture or something. And now here comes the third thing, and probably the most tricky part of the whole thing. It's about connecting your phone to your camera and set it up so that you can control your camera with a fingertip. And I am using a Sony A7 Mark III, and hence I am going to show you how the Sony app works like and how the connecting to the camera works like. So here it goes. So let's start off by opening the app. It's called Imagine Edge for Sony. Let's open it. And as the camera was already paired to my phone, so it comes straight up on the top of the list. You can, and if you are starting up from the scratch, you can check out a hell lot of tutorials out there on YouTube to get yourself guided if you can't figure it out yourself. But for Sony, it's pretty much straightforward. There's a camera control with smartphone option on your camera. Turn that on. There will be QR code. You can scan that off with your camera with this app, and it will connect instantly. And if you are using a different camera system, the system will more or less be the same. Try yourself. If not, go on to Google or YouTube, find out workarounds and just connect it off. And now as this app is open, let's hit start. So that's how it looks. The interface is pretty much the same. Now let's hit the record button. And so here the record is already on. So let me show you about the different camera terminologies over here. On the left hand side, there is the shutter speed is being shown, and here's the f-stop, that the aperture of my lens that goes up to f1.4. It's a good choice if you start up with a f1.4 lens, or f1.8 would do great. just to the wide aperture will give a hell lot of light and you won't end up getting any sort of blurry images. Also, it will separate you from your background real well. Also, if you're starting off, any aperture value will just do fine, and that's not even an issue. And if you just don't know about the correlations of all this camera terminologies, ISO, shutter speed and apertures, you should go and check out some camera basics videos, and you should definitely go and check camera basic part 1 and 2 by Peter McKinnon. I will be linking them around in the description as well. They are helpful, and it's a great point to start off. They are simple, crisp and really good. That was appreciation for my favorite creator on YouTube. Let that aside, let's jump back straight into here again. So this is basically the video interface, and when you turn onto the photo interface, it looks pretty much the same. Only there you will get some other options like white balance, and then also you get another option for timer, and that's very important. I would suggest you to keep the timer around 2 to 5 seconds. That's the sweet spot. I can hold my pose for 2 to 5 seconds. If you are a pro poser and can hold your pose for 10 seconds, you can go for higher numbers. And so here's a red button, that's the shutter button. When you press it, it sends a message to your camera to turn the timer on. Just wait for the timer, give your pose, and boom, you're done. And you can keep on trying this. So if your camera has an intervalometer, you are lucky, and you can ask your camera to just shoot you for every 3 seconds for maybe 10 photos or 20 photos. It works like that, and just keep posing. The camera will keep on shooting you, and I feel that it's a great thing to get more candid shot out of yourself, because when you have the timer on for a single shot, you will be more self-conscious or something, but while it's shooting for 10 continuous shots every 3 seconds, you are going to overcome that certain thing and be more candid in terms of posing or expressing your expressions. So good luck with that. So while you are using such apps, you are definitely going to lose some functionality like manual focusing and micro adjusting your focus and things like that, and that don't come as a barrier in shooting self-portrait for sure, but this is totally helpful for self-portrait. You can just tap on your face and the camera is going to focus on you. What else on the world do you need? That's it. And so just in case your camera has a Bluetooth or Wi-Fi connectivity, you were lucky. You can just use this app and shoot yourself. And now if you are shooting with a phone, you don't really need to care about the focusing thing pretty much. If you are shooting a portrait mode on your phone, I will suggest you to not crank your aperture down to 2.8 or f1.8. Even if it supports that, it will look unnatural and the blur will look fake around the edges. So I will rather suggest you to go around f4, f5.6 or the higher number, so that you don't have to care about the focus thing. And secondly, in terms of composition and framing, you just find the sweet spot of your composition or framing on your phone, mount it on the tripod and keep moving back and forth to just find out the sweet spot where you will look best for your ideas to come in life. Now this has been covered. So now that this is done, let's jump onto the part where if your camera doesn't have a Wi-Fi or Bluetooth functionality and you still want your self-portraits done. So here's the workaround. So given the situation that your phone can't be connected with your camera, for whatever reason it is, your camera might not have a Bluetooth or Wi-Fi functionality, or your camera system doesn't just support connecting to your phone. So there might be various reasons of that. So let me explain how the focusing thing works. Focus works based upon the distance between the subject and the focal plane of your camera sensor. And so to do this workaround, what we need to do is, so just in case, for example, I am going to come back and shoot myself sitting on this chair. Okay, so what I'm going to do is go back to my camera, put the focus on the chair, and then using manual focus or autofocus, whatever, but I have to make sure that it is set to manual focus before I hit the shutter button with the timer. And then I will come back to the chair again. I will sit, hold my poses, express my emotions, what I'm going to convey through this photo. And definitely this is not a foolproof solution. I'm not going to assure you. At the first you need to adjust yourself by moving back and forth to keep your eyes in focus, and sometimes your camera might be focusing on your shirt but your eyes are out of focus just because you were shooting with a wide aperture. And so there might be various challenges that is going to come your way. All it takes is a lot of patience to get all these things correct. And since, as I said earlier, that starting off with f1.4, f1.6 or f1.8 sort of aperture is a good starting point. The reason being, once you are accustomed to focusing with those sort of wide apertures, you can nail focus in any apertures given to you. So I would highly recommend that. This might be frustrating initially, but while you start practicing and over the time, you are going to nail it for sure. And now it's your time to go out on a limb, shoot some worthy portraits, infuse your own creativity, and so what defines your own self. Add props, add some layers to the photos. If you, just for example, if you are an audiophile, you can throw in your headphone and use it in some creative way to show that you love music. If you love books, take photos of you reading books. If you are a fitness freak, show off the equipment that keeps you fit or that keeps you on track. That's the basic motive of self-portraits. Don't be boring, be creative. And I have made this video a bit longer, and that was intentional. And I love experimenting with self-portraits, and I had a lot to talk about, so I kept it a bit long. Also, I have added chapters throughout the whole video, so you can just check the portions that's helpful for you and go ahead. And just in case it was helpful, do make sure that you hit the thumbs up button. That might help the algorithm, and you might consider subscribing to my channel. And also, if you are watching my video for the second or third time and you are not subscribed yet, it might be the sign of the universe that's telling you to subscribe to my channel. With all that being said, stay safe, stay indoors, and see you in the next video. Goodbye for today.